at a 10-year plan. We're talking 12 to 18 months done. Now, done, what do I mean by that? It means the technologies are developed and they're massively disclosed and protected and they begin to be applied. The application is a retooling of the entire Earth's industrial infrastructure. All 1 billion cars on the road are going to need to have transitional systems, which I'll go into in a moment, that take them from these polluting gas guzzlers to things that are emitting nothing, but they're still running on an internal combustion engine. Is this possible? Absolutely. Are the technologies extant today to do it? Yes, they do exist. Same thing for coal-fired power plants. Same thing for a lot of the systems that you're not going to just wave a magic wand and suddenly they're going to be gone. But they will then be phased out as these new systems are stood up and brought forward, where you are then generating energy from the perturbation of the quantum vacuum flux field through the resonance fields that can be created through very sophisticated knowledge of physics and electromagnetism, which I'm not going to go into here because I'm only a country doctor from Virginia, and that's not my forte. There are other people who describe that better. But I will tell you that this is something that has been proven to exist. It's not theoretical. And there are people in this room who have these systems and have worked on them, some even in classified projects perhaps. And the issue then becomes, can we come together as a research community worldwide, as a concerned community worldwide, using all the resources that are available, financial, institutional, media, and celebrity. Why do I bring that up? What happens if you have one of the top 10 rock stars in the world driving around in a vehicle that is emitting nothing? Or another famous actor that I know, who's a very interested person I've spent time with, who's one of these guys who's brought in billion-dollar movie sort of things, running his home on a motor that this gentleman, or some of the other people here put together. It doesn't really matter then if the national security state picks up the phone and tells CNN, don't cover this news conference, because you will not be able to put that toothpaste back in the tube once it's been quickly squeezed out. Now, we know this because we've already done it with the Disclosure Project, with the information and documents about these projects that have been kept classified for so many years. I think that we have to understand that there is more support than people can imagine for doing this. But if you go from a position of weakness and go to the Department of Energy of the United States and you say, I've got something that will get rid of ionizing radiation waste material. And those do exist, and there are people in this room who know about it. And you can get this close to having them do it, and they will decapitate it. And who are the they? There will be the financial interests that are feeding at the trough. It's a multi-tens of billions of dollars a year industry that do not want, really, a solution to that problem because the problem is so lucrative. This is not a theoretical example. This is an example I learned of today that actually happened not long ago. So what you have to then have is the same system, beta tested, independently verified, and then you have something that occurs in the National Press Club or the National Science Foundation, and the whole world's watching. And the whole world's watching, and then you go to the Department of Energy and offer to do this. What will happen if they say no? The consequences will be devastating. The political and social and cultural opprobrium will be overwhelming, and they will not be able to say no, because they will then have no choice. Now, this is exactly what you have to do. If you think you're going to do it any other way, I can guarantee you, you will fail. Why? Because it's been done for 100 years and failed. You know, the Chinese have a wonderful saying, I'm going to paraphrase, unless we change directions, we're likely to end up where we're going. Where are we going? We need to look at where we're going and where we've been and learn from the past, but then have a vision of the future that makes it through this matrix of control and vested interests that want to keep these things tamped down. Because they exist in a number of areas. The Patent Office, Tom Balone is here, can tell you about several thousand patents that have been sequestered away. Many illegally, quite frankly. There is a Section 180, 181 of the patent law that allows for this, but it's been abused. And it hasn't been for national security reasons. It's been for corporate, financial, energy sector, and other reasons. And so the corrupting influence of that much power and how it infiltrates the political, governmental, national security state and military-industrial complex is formidable. But what is equally formidable is the power of people coming together and the masses of people being educated, learning. And I'm not talking about just the masses of the public, but the scientific elite, which we've identified who now support this, who know it's real. The leadership in Europe. There's a G7 country, the president of whom is openly supporting this information coming out that we're working with intimately. The issue then becomes creating that network so that that becomes the sheltering branch, to use an old Persian concept, that protects the inventor, the technology, and humanity. So these things can be moved out. That's what Arrow wants to do, and that's what we can do. The technological and technical hurdles are, in many cases, have been overcome by people in this room. Now, obviously, there may be generation 1 or 2 of them, and eventually we'll have generation 200. I know what Lockheed Skunk Works has, for example. And there are generations, several hundred. Doesn't matter. So long as it generates enough power to run a home and a business and a car without destroying the Earth's biosphere and creating the clash of civilizations fighting over commodities in this death spiral that we're in today, fine. You don't make the perfect the enemy of the good. But I'll tell you something else, and I've been told this directly from these interests who have been sitting on these technologies. And by the way, my uncle, who's now in his late 80s, is a big fan of what we're doing. The guy who designed the little thing that took Neil Armstrong to the moon, which was really kind of space junk, because by the time that happened, we already had anti-gravity, so-called mass cancellation, electrogravitic systems up and running. But that's another discussion. The point being, there are people in those networks that he's connected to who are saying, yeah, we didn't think this stuff would have been kept secret past late 60s. And here it is, 2007, almost 40 years later, where we're still getting 57% or so of our electricity in America from coal, like the 17 and 1800s. Yeah, we have fiber optics and integrated circuits, but what's running them? A coal-fired power plant out here somewhere. It's insane. So that whole dynamic is something that people are beginning to realize we've really overstayed our course. And if we don't change course, it's going to be changed for us. I suggest that we decide to change course. And it can be done, and I'm convinced it's achievable within a relatively short amount of time with cooperation, the synergy of the scientific community that are here, and this network which we're asking everyone to help us keep expanding. Doesn't matter, all throughout the world. And with that kind of force multiplier, if you will, you can move all of these technologies out. So our intent is to, we have a couple of angel funders who've already pledged about $250,000 just to get part of this going. We have a transitional funding for about $1.8 million, and then we want to go to this $43 million level. I hope within the next few weeks to have all of that in place. Now, what we have to do is put in front of the people who want to support this, who are willing to take that risk, and I don't mean financial risk, because these are people where, I mean, look, if you've got a fleet of 5 G5 jets, you're blowing that much out of your tailpipe. But who are really going to look at the other risks and will ask us to be the lead entity to take that risk. Okay, not the inventors and scientists, We want to bulletproof them away from the